Today I'm going to the Hamster Fair 2024. If you didn't know, the Hamster Fair is an amazing event run by Happy Hamsters UK, which is a UK-based hamster rescue where I got my 10-month-old dwarf hamster Rudy. There have been a few hamster fairs in the past, but there will not be one next year due to the people who run its personal commitments. Overall, it's a great place for people who like proper hamster care to go and support this amazing rescue and overall have a lot of fun with other people who enjoy the same interests as them. This video is quite long, but trust me, it's totally worth it, so let's get into it. First, the introduction talk.
We have taken in 734 hamsters in the 3.5 years that we've been running. 599 of them have found homes, probably with many of you in the crowd. So that's 82% have been adopted, but with all of that, we unfortunately have to say that we have lost about 15% of the hamsters that have come in. So that makes about 3% are currently still in our care that we've had. So we're quite proud of those stats, and where we've been, I do want to say that 15% takes into account a lot that we have decided can't go out for adoption and stay with us because of medical issues.
Hamster, so I think this says for both of us really, we both absolutely love dwarves. We started off as Syrian girls, but we've kind of over the years really fallen in love with dwarves and their quirky little characters and personalities. They typically live a little bit longer as well, which is nice. They're less demanding and they're really easy to tame. But like for me, I don't care about that stuff as much. I just like giving them a massive enclosure. My two girls, Lucky and Lex, Lucky's a foster girl who you can read her story out there. They both can't really be handled. Lucky because she would just fall out of my hands because she's got no balance. And Lex, who is an angry little girl. But yeah, so they're very easy to tame. I just have never kind of pursued it with Lex because of how stressed it makes her that they are.
Now Victoria Rachel's video.
If you don't know who I am, I run a pet lifestyle channel on YouTube. Tour of my male hybrid dwarf, Nickel. The enclosure that I'm using here for Nickel is 2 of the Night Angel Stacker series enclosures. They are connected together using the splicing kit, as just one of the enclosures alone isn't enough space for a hamster. So the enclosure is 160 centimeters long by 44.9 centimeters wide and 50 centimeters tall. So that gives Nickel a total of 1,116 square inches of floor space, or 7,199.9 square centimeters of floor space. On the platform leading down, we have a shorter platform, and I just have this ceramic tart dish that I had picked up at the dollar store. It's a perfect size for substrate. So I have in there just some of the Living World Comfort Aspen chips. He really likes to dig in there. He also just has a little apple stick and as well as a little acorn chew, which is super cute.
Here's some clips of the stall set up there. Next, are the Syrian hamsters video.
Eel the Syrian is my hamster who is 1 and 7 months old. I got him, he was depressed. He would just sit in a little corner and just be like, and we'd be like, and he'd be like, and that's when I went, Eel. I say we, it was me. I got him from Pets at Home. I was on the bus one day, this is before I got my driver's license. I was on public transport like a peasant, and I was like, oh my gosh, Pets at Home. And I was like, oh, Ben, wouldn't it be so nice to have a hamster? I just wanted something to look after. And he was like, no. And I was like, but please. And he was like, no. And I was like, but I'll look after it, don't worry. And he was like, well, if you look after it. And I was like, cool. So I took my butt up and went and bought him from Pets at Home. I know, you can be, it's fine. You know what, I'm just going to give you time to be. I bought the biggest cage, the best bedding, and took their care advice. And I was like, sweet, I know what I'm doing. I'm hamster owner now. What more to it? It's in his little cage, it's fine. They don't need that much. Little did I know, they needed a lot.
Next, the Rescue Tales talk featuring Bright Horizons, Wood Green and Happy Hamsters UK.
Syrians came to me, I think it must have been last year. Lebkuchen, he was surrendered by a local woman. Her son went to uni, he bred hamsters and she got rid of them while he was gone. He was the last one that was left, so I took him in. And as you can see, he's the one over there. He only has one eye. Lev, as we called him, was a very, very strange hamster. He did not behave like a hamster. Same as Mona, but I'll talk about her in a minute. With this, we would like to raise some awareness about backyard breeding, abuse, and intensive inbreeding. Lebkuchen was taken to the vet by Polly. He had an X-ray taken, and it was revealed that his eye socket was shattered and missing. That was from impact trauma, from falling from extreme height or being thrown with force. So we have researched that and found out that he must have had some form of abuse. Just to make this a bit happier, he lived a wonderful and happy life with Polly. He stayed in the rescue because he was just such a strange little guy. It really affected him because he was diagnosed then with brain injury later on, so he didn't really understand what it meant to be a hamster. He slept very weirdly in tiny little containers. He squeezed himself in. He was obese even though he had a healthy diet, and we tried to make him lose weight. He had narcolepsy, and he just decided to sleep where he slept. He just dropped and slept for the day. He passed at approximately 8 months old, so he did not get very old, unfortunately, which is also the cause of the intensive inbreeding. But the 8 months that he lived was very happy with us.
So I'm going to start by talking you through the case of the rather cute Sushi here. I'm sure as with other rescues how hamsters end up with weird and wonderful names to help us identify them, but this is Sushi. Sushi was a stray hamster actually found by a lady on the streets of London, so a little bit different to some of the kind of intake stories we get. And when it came to Sushi, the finder was able to keep her very temporarily. She had a small kind of tank that she could keep her in, didn't know a lot about hamsters, but could keep her for a couple of days until we were able to help out. So within that time, what we did is we offered her information and we offered her some advice about, okay, here's how you can kind of keep this hamster and care for her over the next couple of days. Unfortunately, although the lady was unable to travel, we offer an intake collection scheme, and we were able to go out and arrange with our team to be able to go and collect her. So within 3 days, we've been able to collect Sushi and bring her in and set her up in a better situation with us. But due to Sushi's kind of unusual situation, we needed to do a little bit more in terms of health checking with her beyond what our usual health checking procedures would be. As you can imagine, for a hamster on the streets of London, there are quite a few concerns that we had. So first of all, we were a bit worried that she might have been either stepped on or kicked accidentally if she's where there are pedestrians. So we did quite a lot in terms of checking her movement. Was she moving okay? How was her gait? We looked for obvious signs of pain. We also wanted to check to see if there were neurological issues. So that was just a lot of behavioural monitoring again, looking at gait, were there sort of imbalances and things like that. And just signs of obvious injury, because there was a real chance that something traumatic may have happened to her just purely in being in the environment she was in. We also had some worries about her diet. As a stray hamster, what had she been eating? And were there chances that she could have ingested something toxic or maybe something that might have led to internal blockages? So really for her, again, that was about taking time to look at sort of fecal and urine outputs. We also kind of monitored that in terms of did she have any internal parasites, because we had no idea in terms of that as well. And by doing that, we could just be kind of comfortable that she was eating and that she was passing things the way that she should be and that there were not any blockages. When we're talking as well about kind of eating and drinking and things like that, we obviously had a concern, could there be something wrong with her mouth or with her pouches, with her teeth? So as much as we kind of visually could check with her, we looked to see if there was any dental damage. We also monitored her kind of eating and how she was storing within her pouches and things like that, because if she'd been eating things that could have led to sort of impaction or to blockage or to damage to that tissue within the pouch, that was quite a worry. And then finally, we did quite a few tape tests with her to test for external parasites. This is just a few of the things here that we worked through. So as I just said, sort of neurological issues, signs of pain, toxic shock, internal blockages, parasites, foot sores, mobility issues, and impacted pouches, because we were so worried about where she'd come from. Good news, she didn't have anything like that. Health-wise, she was okay. Miraculously, because as you can imagine, being a stray in London, there were a lot of things that could have happened. So the really good news is that Sushi got the all clear from...
Rather than talk through a few, we had a huge intake back in March, which I'm sure many of you know about, and it was the ducklings. And they were rescued in March 2024. We had help from the lovely Bright Horizon on this rescue, and another rescue as well. And between us, we rescued 47 hamsters and 2 mice. Okay, that was a lot, and it was a really intense situation. So how did we go about it? Well, first off, we received an email saying, I don't know how many hamsters I have, I think it's around 75, and I want you to take 20. As a rescuer, the first thing you think is red flag, okay? So we inquired a little bit more, got on the phone with the surrenderer, and as it turned out, there had been a lot of misinformation from pet shops, which is the standard, obviously. So 4 had been bought originally, all dwarves, all kept together, and then there was 1 male and 3 females. And unlike most dwarves, who are a little bit more loyal, this guy decided he would impregnate all 3. So he went, and obviously the cycle began. The pet shop took back a few from the first litter, but only boys, which is really standard of pet shops to do. If there's an accidental litter, they will only take back the males, and often they sex them wrong in the first place, so you can't really guarantee that they're even taking back the right ones. But yeah, so they had taken some back. And then, unfortunately, not every surrenderer, I want to remind you all of, is a bad person. Then a lot of the time, they're just uneducated, and even sometimes maybe a little bit behind in terms of certain development. And this surrenderer had actually suffered a big brain injury in a car crash, which is why she could not comprehend what she was doing with these animals. It was really quite sad. So here's some of the pictures of the ones in our care. Most of these are still in our care, actually. There's a plug for the ones available for adoption. But yeah, so we approached this with 2 mega car journeys. So our incredible volunteer, Daniela, who you'll have met out there on the stalls, drove all the way from Reading over to Kettering to spend the night there, then came down and went all the way to Whitley Bay, which is in the northeast around Newcastle. So she did a massive journey, and she did this twice because she really wanted to see this through. She wanted to, you know, she was like, well, I've started on this rescue now and I'm not stopping. So she did it twice over 2 weekends. The first time she came, picked up Kate, and they went together and assessed the situation. All of these hamsters were living in pretty tiny cages. There was 2 pool huts, which were supposed to have a mum and 5 babies in one, and then a group of Rogorovskis in the other. Sadly, when they went to find the 5 babies, mum had offed them. So they were no longer with us, and they had been gone for several weeks. So this is what I'm talking about when I say this woman had no idea what was going on. And it wasn't necessarily 100% her fault. A lot of this is because the pet shop should have sexed the hamsters correctly and only sold her one in one cage and left it at that. So from that we took them away. There were several joke names made just to actually process the situation. So the mother, who had sadly unalived her children, was known as Killer. And the male Rogorovsky, who had decided to unalive his brothers, was Mini Killer. So this is the way we process a lot of this information. It is really difficult, especially when you're in the situation. And many of these enclosures hadn't been cleaned in weeks. There was feces and urine everywhere. Now the second time when we went back, I went instead of Kate, so we have a dog at home, so I think one of us can go at a time. And the second that we walked into the room where all the hamsters were being kept, all I could hear was screaming and fighting in 2 of the cages. So we immediately get them out. And she's telling us they're healthy, they're healthy. We're scruffing them, we're showing her, no, look at these cuts, look at them. It's almost as though she couldn't see them. It was really quite sad. So I can't guarantee which hamsters and which enclosure at this point because I forgot to do this. So I just added them on really quickly, hence the random arrangement. But you will find every single one of our hamsters' journeys on our Facebook or Instagram, so we put them when they're available for adoption, when they come in, and then when they go to their forever home, it will say, like, for example, this one is Abacot's forever home, I know that much. So they have a little graphic and it says it, so you can check. But yeah, so Abacot was one of the dwarves that came in this rescue, and he's gone to a lovely home. And here are 2 of the other amazing homes that we've had hamsters adopted out to.
Next, I watched the Hamster Room's video.
Some of you may know me as the Hamster Room on YouTube, Instagram and TikTok. On YouTube, I post lots of hamster care related videos such as product reviews, cage setups and daily routines. I have 3 hamsters, Bear, a long-haired male Syrian who I adopted from Happy Hamsters UK, Robin, who is also a long-haired male Syrian who I rescued from a rehomed site, and Ren, a female Robo who I adopted from Bright Horizon Hamster Rescue. Firstly, I thought I'd share what enclosures I have and give a little review on each of them. The first one is the DIY IKEA Pax, which is 2 meters by 75 centimeters. I absolutely love the size of this enclosure and the IKEA glass front. The only negative with this enclosure is the base, as it is a wardrobe, it's a cardboard-like base. So if I were to make this again, I'd make the base a lot stronger. The next one is another IKEA DIY. This is the double IKEA Lindman, which is 1 meter by 1 meter. I love the shape of this enclosure as it allows you to set it up differently compared to a regular rectangular cage. And finally, the paw hut enclosure. I think this is also a great enclosure, but I recommend waterproofing it and maybe also chew-proofing it. I'm sure you all already know, pet shops get their hamsters from rodent mills, which are extremely unethical, and it's always best to support rescues or getting your hamster from a rehoming site. Personally, I foster hamsters for Happy Hamsters UK. I started in February and so far I've fostered 7 hamsters and it's been such an amazing experience. It's amazing to see hamsters thrive after being rescued from bad situations. This little hamster is called Magpie and he's the second hamster that I fostered. He was part of the ducklings rescue and unfortunately he had a cyst on his foot which had to be surgically removed. Because of Happy Hamsters UK, he got the treatment he needed and he's now thriving in his forever home. This just shows how amazing and important rescues like Happy Hamsters UK are.
And finally, the first aid talk.
Hamster first aid. To begin with, I am not a veterinary professional. I'm speaking from direct experience with these specific issues that we're going to talk about, and if you suspect your hamster is unwell, please seek guidance from an exotic veterinarian. Easily in their enclosure or playpen environment, so without handling them at all, that their eyes are clear, can open and close, and that there's no discharge coming from most places. The general body form hasn't changed, and there's no visible weight change. There's no obvious lumps or wounds. They're moving about as normal, can pull themselves up onto platforms. They're breathing normally. There's no head tilt, circling, stargazing, or back flipping. So head tilt's pretty obvious to the side. It can be very minor. So obviously, just if you suspect your hamster has a head tilt, just watch them walk in a straight line across like a playpen or a bathtub and see if their sort of like line of vision is going that way at all. And with circling, it's literally as it sounds, it can be like this. Usually if it's non-stop, that usually means they've got an inner ear infection. So don't automatically go, oh my God, my hamster's got a neurological condition and needs to be put to sleep. Because uncontrollable spinning is often a pain in the ear, and it's right in the inner ear, and they need antibiotics. But if they stop what they're doing a lot and then circle, and then can go about their business and stuff, that's when it's normally neurological. My foster fail, Lucky, has this issue, and it's often triggered by changes in like environment. So when I take her out of the enclosure especially, she is trying to adjust to new places, and she'll just spin and spin and spin, and then she'll stop and continue on. And the same when I turn the lights on and lift her lid up. The same when I put a new dig box in or a new sand bath. I had to try about 4 or 5 different sand baths before I found one that she could actually like just go into without spinning, because the texture and the temperature of the sand was cooler than the rest of the stuff in her enclosure. So she would step into it and immediately go like this because it was a sudden change. And essentially what's happening there is she's having a seizure. So to minimise that, I've given her a really cluttered enclosure. Stargazing is where they literally look up, and back flipping is where they can't control it and they go all the way over.
If you guys want a full tour of everything I got at the Hamster Fair today, then you have to wait till my video that will be uploaded middle of next week. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more hamster care content.